There's been a lot of discussion over the past, few weeks, few months, few years about calling a game, whether the coach should do it, whether the catcher should do it. Ultimately, that's not a discussion I'm going to get in right now, but I'm going to give a little couple tidbits about how to call a game, what to look for, how to read a hitter, and there's so many different variables that you need to look for as a pitch caller, whether you are the catcher, whether you're the coach, but there's so many factors. Okay, so some of the factors that I look for is, not only what my pitcher throws well, but what the situation of the game is. Okay, where my defenders are playing, what defenders are stronger than the others, where I want that hitter to potentially hit the ball. Because honestly, I never think about a strikeout until I have two strikes. Ultimately, I'm trying to get outs and weak outs. And that is a different mindset than trying to strike somebody out. When you try to strike somebody out from the very get-go, you think about trying to set a hitter up, then you end up wasting pitches, and then ultimately at the back end of the game or into that second game of the day, you're a little bit weaker because we've wasted so many unneeded pitches trying to set somebody up. Now, there are ways to use information from previous at-bats and use it against them in the current one, but we don't want to waste pitches early in a game for their third or fourth at bat because we don't know what's going to happen at that third or fourth at bat. We don't know if the pitcher's still going to be in the game, but we ultimately want to make sure that every pitch is useful, and we want to make sure that every pitch has a purpose. So I am looking at not only what the pitcher is throwing well that day. If I do have previous information about a hitter's strengths and weaknesses, I definitely use that. But that day, their strengths could be their weakness, and some of their previous weaknesses could be a strength. So you have to account for what they're looking like that day, what the hitter's energy level looks like, what their swings in the on-deck circle looked like. Maybe you're able to see them play earlier that day, and they're showing a few different things than maybe they've shown the tournament before or the year before. But then, once they get in the box, you want to look at their body language. You want to look at, the body language of their feet and their legs, how they're breathing, how hard they're gripping the bat, and also, what the weather's doing. If the wind is blowing in a certain direction or the wind is blowing in, maybe you're more apt to throw the ball up in the zone because it's going to get caught up in the air and not travel. Maybe the ball's blowing out hard, so you're going to be less apt to maybe throw the ball up in the zone because the ball's going to get in that air and jet stream and travel out. But there's a lot of factors when it comes to pitch calling and reading a hitter that you need to be able to process in a short amount of time. But what we want to stay away from is creating patterns and being very readable. Because if you're readable as a pitch caller and you create a lot of patterns, then what do you think the other side's doing? They're going to make an adjustment to what you're doing, and then all of a sudden, if you're big into throwing, first pitch drop balls or first pitch rise balls or, first pitch strikes consistently, and you're not sometimes working out of the zone to get them to chase, then you're ultimately going to fail as a pitch caller at some point. You want to make sure that you're staying ahead of your opponent and you're not creating patterns and you're changing up what you're doing to try to keep that hitter guessing and be deceptive. Try to think 3 steps ahead in the present moment and don't think 3 or 4 pitches ahead when you don't know what's going to happen, because every single pitch, every single swing, circumstances change. All right, body languages change, confidence levels change from the hitter. So think about the present moment and collect as much information in that present moment that you can to come up with a pitch that's going to be most effective in that given moment based on the situation of the game and the conditions of the field, what the umpire is doing, what the fielders are doing, what the base runners are doing, and the whole atmosphere, what that's creating. So it's a lot of information, but try to be present in the moment instead of trying to dictate and to chart out pitches way ahead of time, for 3 at-bats from now or for the next game. Live in the moment, trust your gut, gather information, and just make the best decision with the quickest amount of time possible to keep the pitcher in rhythm, because ultimately the most important thing is you want to keep the pitcher in rhythm. If the pitcher is not in rhythm and they're second guessing you or they're stopping and delaying, they're not going to be as efficient with whatever pitch you're throwing. And ultimately, I want to make sure that my pitchers are throwing every pitch with conviction rather than worrying about throwing the right pitch a little bit hesitant. So gather info, make the quick decision, trust your gut, okay, and make sure the pitcher stays in rhythm, and you'll be all set.